so the book for this activity is Who Sank the Boat? And it is a mystery book about what animal could have possibly sank this boat. And of course you could see that there is a donkey and a cow in it. There's also a sheep, a pig, and a mouse. And the mouse is the one that ends up sinking the boat, which is funny. And so for this activity, we have a bucket full of water. And you will have pre-made a tinfoil boat to float in it. And so since this bucket is clear, what you're going to do is have the kids sit into a circle, and you are going to sit in the circle also. And the kids can see the boat floating inside of the bucket because it is clear. And so that shouldn't be an issue. You can turn it like this so it's more visible even. But you'll sit in the circle with the kids and they can see it. And so you're going to put your boat in the water, and then you're going to have the kids take estimates of how many pennies it will take to sink the boat. A lot of them think it won't take very many, maybe 5 or 6. It can take quite a few depending on how big your boat is. So you will start placing pennies in, and they will count with you. So that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and you'll keep counting until your boat sinks. And then once it's done, you can have whoever was closest to the estimate raise their hand, and that's really fun because they always think they're right. So that is one activity, and then the next activity is float or sink, and we have some various objects that will float or sink, and you can talk about the density of the water and what makes something float or sink, and you can have the kids talk to you about what they know, what makes something float or sink. So for example, this is one thing that the kids always think is really interesting because they think that this should float, but in reality, it actually sinks. And that has a lot to do with the amount of water we have in here. If we had more water, if we were in a swimming pool, this would indeed float. But because we don't have as high of density of water, this actually sinks. So that's really interesting to the kids. And you can discuss that with them. Another part of this that's really fun is the golf ball. Of course, all the kids think this sinks, and it does. It sinks to the bottom. But then the kids, I tasked the kids with, how can we make this float? What objects do we have that could make this float? Well, one of the things we have is this little, it's like a half ball. The balls that are in ball pits, like at Chuck E. Cheese. It's half of one of those, and it floats like a boat, actually. And so the kids, this is one of the immediate choices for what can make the golf ball float. Well, this, if you put the golf ball inside of it, this actually does, it floats. It sinks a little bit, but it doesn't sink to the bottom. It floats like you do in a life jacket. And so essentially, this half ball acts as the golf ball's life jacket. And that's a really neat concept to the kids also, and you can talk to them about that. If you fill it up with water and the golf ball, it does sink. So you can talk about what makes it sink. And then there's just some other various things in here that sink. There's some little animals, little plastic animals, a pair of dice, and a metal spoon that all sink. Most of the things do sink. Another interesting concept is rubber bands actually do sink. They don't float. A lot of people think they do. And you can just talk to the kids about different things that they think make things sink or float, and talk to them about the concept of, when you are talking about the concept of having higher amounts of water to make things float, maybe discuss how cruise ships float in ocean water. Would a cruise ship float in this amount of water? Absolutely not. And that really puts things into perspective for kids, because that makes more sense to them than this little ball maybe. So